I just came back from my first 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat, and it was a very interesting experience. In this video, I want to go over what Vipassana is, what the retreat structure is like, very short, my overall experience, the days 1 to 10, what kind of happened for me during those days, and also the pros and cons of the retreat, because I didn't like it on a certain level. On another level, I did like it. And on a third level, on another level, I did not like it at all. And at the end, I want to talk about why I'm probably not gonna go to another one of these retreats for quite a while now. So let's get into it. What is Vipassana? Vipassana is a meditation technique, as I understand it, where you observe your body. It's a body observation as taught by the Buddha, as they said. And you observe every single part of your body and kind of focus your attention on each and every sensation that is happening in the body. And the retreat structure, it was the retreat structure as taught by Goenka-ji, and they had a very simple schedule, waking up at 4 a.m., 4:30 meditation, and then basically 11 hours of practice a day with short breaks in between, and then you go to bed at 9 p.m. and do it all over again. So very simple schedule, very simple retreat structure, and that is wonderful, and it worked fairly well. That's one part I really enjoyed. Overall, the experience for myself was very humbling. I thought it would be an easy ride, 10 days of meditation, what could happen? Never done like such long retreats. And once again, like every psychedelic experience, like many experiences in life that I'm encountering at the moment, I got humbled. I got humbled again because I did not like it. Because it was a difficult experience. There was a lot of pain and suffering involved in my experience. By the way, the insights I derived out of these 10 days of meditation are going to be presented in a different video. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Here we talk about psychedelic substances, integration, self-realization and self-actualization. And the insights I got, I'll present them in a different video. And still, the overall increase in consciousness was very interesting. With each day, the presence that got intensified was kind of like a low dose of LSD. It was kind of like a little psychedelic experience, kind of the pattern awareness of all these patterns on the ground or the trees or whatever. This got increased. And also the mind games, as you don't talk with anybody. You don't look anybody into the eyes. You're kind of as isolated as possible. And you're just there alone with your own mind and your own thoughts. And with the practice itself, it also got kind of psychedelic on that level. It was almost like, I got the idea that it's almost like 10 minutes of a low-dose LSD journey stretched out over 10 days. A little bit of a different flavor, but overall a very psychedelic experience, we could almost call it. By the way, if you're interested in integration, psychedelic integration, or even it applies to retreat integration as well, because this is kind of an extraordinary state of consciousness, an extraordinary experience that we go into. I am offering coaching at the moment for integration, what integration is and how we can apply the insights we gain in those expanded states of consciousness in our daily life. If you're interested, you can book a free one-on-one call with me. So the days 1 to 10, what came up, what happened? Day number 1, very short, arrival. I was smiling. I was excited for it. I was like, this is exciting. This is my first retreat. I don't know what's gonna come up, but I was happy. And I observed the other people, they were not so happy. Many people were like very serious. I was like, what is this place? Why is everybody so serious? Oh, later I found out why everybody was so serious. Because it was hard work to be there, and it was not fun. It was not fun at times, but still a lot of learning still happened. Then day 1 to 3, You do this breath meditation, you just observe your natural breath, Anapana meditation, without trying to change it. And I liked that. That was beautiful. To doing that for 11 hours a day, I got into some deep territory as well. But also on day 2, my pain started. Physical pain in the knees, in the feet, in my back, and my whole legs basically just started to hurt. Slowly at the beginning of the session, of each meditation session, and then the pain intensified more and more. But the pain did not end. They teach you this principle of anicca, of impermanence. Every sensation arises, passes away, arises and passes away. But this pain, my pain, I thought it would never end. Eventually it did, but it only did end at day 8. So from day 2 till day 8, I was in severe pain. I was in severe, horrible, horrendous pain. To the point where I was sitting and I got dizzy, I got headaches, I got nauseous, and I even saw some colors. Not because it was a wonderful spiritual experience, because of the pain. I could feel, now I know where the pain receptors in my brain are, and I could feel the pain receptors kind of vibrating in my brain and going like and eventually maybe they just burned out at day number 8, but who knows how this pain arises and what happens, because I decided for one posture. I was not trying around like everybody else, and I was just sitting in that posture and dedicated, and maybe changing my legs every once in a while. But I did not know it was possible to experience so much physical pain just from sitting in one position, or just sitting in general. Because sitting, it's not, I mean, our body is not used to it, but it's not physically dangerous. It's not like our knee or our foot is gonna explode into 1,000 pieces. It was incredible that it was so much pain. And on day 3 or 4, they introduced the concept of strong determination sitting. And I was aware of that concept. And I was like, okay, great. So the recommendation was to sit on 3 or 4 group sessions for 1 hour in one position without moving, without changing your position during that hour. But I, with my enthusiasm and my experience, I thought, I'll just do all of the sessions in strong determination. Almost all 11 hours of the sittings I was doing in strong determination sittings. And that was close to self-torture. I couldn't really differentiate between the strong determination sitting and self-torture, because my idea was that I was getting through the pain. I'm just gonna sit through the pain, and eventually I'm gonna break through to a different place where there's no pain, because that's what I've heard from others, and it would make sense, because if it's impermanent, the pain, then it should go away at one point or another. And it was just so horrible. It was so horrible just to sit with that pain, and I felt aversion to that pain. I couldn't embrace it. Another principle they taught is to have no craving and no aversion towards any of the body sensations you observe. And I could not get to the place where I'm like, okay, I accept this pain with equanimity. I couldn't, but I'll get to that insight more in the other video about the insights. Especially the 2-hour sittings were just, the pain got really, I cannot even put it into words how intense the pain got. But I kind of managed to sit through it. And at the beginning, at the end of each session, when I stood up, the pain went away. When I was walking around, stretching a little bit. So it was impermanent, but during the sit-ins, it didn't end. But at day 8, very late into the retreat, the pain stopped. There was only a little bit of slight back pain left, but no pain anymore in my feet from one day to the next. And it was surprising. It was like, what? It did end. It was impermanent. But then only at day 8 I could seriously start the work of the practice and really concentrate also on doing the practice properly, because all the other 7 days I was distracted by the pain, because I couldn't focus my awareness and do the technique properly because I was focused so much on the pain, and I couldn't ignore it as they taught it. Just ignore the pain and focus on the practice. Easier said than done. But also over the days as well, also with the pain, at times there were meditation sessions which were just peaceful, just wonderful, just very calm and felt like good sessions, whatever a good or bad session or meditation is, right? Because the whole thing in and of itself, all the negative, humanly perceived negative or positive experiences are part of the practice, a part of you developing what they taught. They taught the equanimity, the no craving, the anicca. You develop your understanding over time, and sometimes you're not as good in it, and sometimes you're better in it, or it works better. But overall, great. And also, sometimes you observe people and they do all kinds of crazy stuff, and there is a little bit of taste of madness as well, especially at day 9 for me. At times my mind just got so wild and so crazy, and there were fantasies coming up and different thoughts that were just, I don't know where they come from, but stuff is surfacing from deep within and is coming to the surface of the mind or of the body as well. And that was interesting to get a taste of madness and also a taste of deep peace. So overall, I felt the 10 days was really short for me. I felt like I could get a glimpse of how the technique, the Vipassana technique works. But it was not really enough for me to really get into the practice. I think 10 days is really the minimum to get a glimpse of a certain thing, and that is wonderful. So that was really, really good. Also with a lot of meditation, the structure was, I was afraid that I was not going to be able to wake up at 4 a.m. But I was. Sometimes I was waking up naturally at 2 a.m. in the morning. Because of the sitting all day, just sitting, and the meditation kind of increases energy. That's what you hear from meditation masters as well. They don't need that much sleep. If they get into deep meditation states, then that is kind of giving so much energy, giving so much relaxation, and giving so much power. So very powerful to observe that. 4 a.m. was no problem. I woke up naturally, even sometimes before they rang the bell. I had very weird dreams. That was interesting. Just very aware of my dreams, and wild stuff was happening there. Hard to interpret or get something out of, but wild experiences. Also in the breakfast and lunch break, I took a little nap of like half an hour to an hour, and I was dreaming there as well because I was very alert not to miss the next session, and also weird dreams came up there. A lot of sexual desire came up at one point that was just coming to the surface. Desire and passion and lust and fantasies, and that was really interesting that came up. And yeah, I think stuff can come up for different people, right? Reaching different states of consciousness, and just sitting with oneself in silence for 10 days. Stuff is coming up to the surface. This is kind of the process of purification, as they called it. And as something is arising, you meet it with love and with equanimity, and you don't follow the clinging or the aversion, as Goenka said. You let it go, and you transcend this thing, this samkara that came up. And stuff is coming up for all kinds of people. And I've heard from people who are reaching awakening experiences during these retreats or similar types of experiences, and people falling into psychosis doing these retreats. So both can happen. It's not just all good or all bad, but we'll get into the pros and the cons now. But if you are going through a spiritually difficult time, which can emerge out of such a retreat experience or psychedelic experience, then I wrote a free psychedelic spiritual emergency workbook. You can download that for free. It's a book I wrote about deep spiritual crisis, the dark night of the soul, or Kundalini energy awakenings, and how to deal with them and how to move through these phases, because recently I've also moved through my first spiritual crisis, and the book is kind of the result out of this crisis. So if you want, you can download that for free. Link is in the video description. So the pros and the cons of the retreat. Let's get real here, because I did not like the retreat. But I also did like the retreat. But I also did not like the retreat. So on one level, I did not like it because it was hard, because it was a challenging experience, because it was difficult, because my egoistic mind and mechanisms did not like what was happening, and it was difficult to sit with pain and to observe the pain. But all that was, I would say, almost part of the positive of the experience. It was a pro, because that's what I enjoy. I enjoy going through difficult times and difficult experiences, because from these difficult experiences, especially in such a safe and good setting, we can grow. We are learning a lot about ourselves, and we grow through these challenging situations. So the part of that I didn't enjoy, I actually did enjoy. That was the first part of it. And also just the what Goenka and the retreat, what they built is just really beautiful. All these centers around the world, you can go there for free, more or less. They really ask for a donation, but you can go there and simply just not donate. And they just teach you. They just teach you the teaching of the Buddha in a very pure way, almost. We'll get to that in the cons. And you are learning the technique. I was learning the technique. I can get a glimpse now on how the technique works. And the silence is beautiful. The discipline was beautiful. The structure of the retreat was beautiful. That people were there who were serving and who were cooking good food was beautiful. And just the simplicity of the whole thing is just wonderful, to actually be able to do this work, because it would be harder to develop this discipline here at home and do a solo retreat 10 days at home with this kind of structure and this kind of discipline. It would have been very hard. Respect to all those who are doing this. Eventually in the future I'll do that as well, but to begin with, a retreat setting is really beautiful. And also just being with my mind, watching it, exploring the mechanisms of my mind deeply, and gaining insight into how the structure of my mind is working was really beautiful as well. And now coming to the cons, to the reason also why I might not go to one of these Goenka Vipassana retreats in the future, because I did not like a lot about the experience, which is hard to differentiate now that my ego mind didn't like it and it was a hard experience, but also on a different level, it didn't resonate with me. First of all, the teachers did not resonate with me, at least the male teacher that was there. He was just basically repeating all the time what Goenka said in the Dharma talks. So maybe not everywhere there are incompetent teachers, but I also, with my questions that I asked at times, I wasn't really satisfied with the answer I got. Maybe the woman was better. I think she was like 85 or something and meditated Vipassana for like 50 years or something. But that was one thing. And all of these cons are very personal ones. So it might be a matter of taste. I don't think there's something inherently wrong with the way they do it and the way the retreat is structured, but I did not resonate with quite a few things that were happening there. So first of all, I realized for myself, I did not like the technique. I do not like the Vipassana meditation technique as taught by Goenka. It's also a very specific lineage, so there's also different kinds of Vipassana, different kinds of practicing the practice of Vipassana. But as taught by Goenka specifically, in the way he did it in this retreat with his instructions, I did not like it. I did put all my stuff aside. When I was coming to the retreat, I was like, okay, I'm going to put all what I know about meditation and about everything and all my practices, that's what they ask you to do as well, aside, to be a good student, to be completely open-minded and to try out and follow the instructions precisely and correctly, to try out this technique. And that's what I did. And still I came to the conclusion now that I did not like it. I did not like the technique. Or I haven't fully understood it, is also a possibility. Or I haven't practiced it enough. It hasn't become natural for me. And if it would become natural, I would maybe come to a place where I would like it more. personally, but overall I still have the sense that it did not resonate with me, because the point is, it was too much effort for me. I did like the Anapana. It's just the natural breath is happening, there's no effort, and the awareness is happening, and you just place it onto the natural breath, which is also almost no effort at all. No effort is required for awareness to be there, and no effort is required for the breath to be there. But with the Vipassana, it felt like too much effort for me. So to do the body scan and examine every part, top to bottom, as he said, bottom to top, and examine every part of your body, head and highest point, and eyes and face and ears and throat and left arm and right arm and chest and back and all of this, and examine it bit by bit, and then notice if there's a free flow, and bit by bit again, and don't forget any part of the body, and so on and so on and so on. All these instructions. It was not too complicated, but it's like this body scan, top to bottom, bottom to top. And also being aware of any particles or sensations, and examine if it's a gross sensation or subtle sensation, or what kind of sensations you feel. And also be aware that you're not craving any experience, or you're not averse and resisting any experience. And also remain aware of the equanimity, and also contemplate and understand the nature of anicca and impermanence. And all of this was too much for me, even though it's very simple practice. But all of this, and don't forget respiration, and also you can let go and still follow the technique correctly, and work diligently, as he said, work persistently, work patiently, work. And that it just felt too complex and complicated for me. And then, yeah, I was not able to do it properly, or I did do it properly for the 10 days, but I wasn't really resonating with it. I was trying to control my experience and control my center of awareness and move it somewhere, and doing the work and working during my meditation, and then also being aware that I do it correctly and properly. It took away the depth of the experience for me. It took away the surrender aspect, the letting go, the effortless awareness. And it went against my understanding of what meditation is and is supposed to be. I get into that a little bit into my mushroom trip, life trip experience. You can watch it right here, that I did after my Vipassana retreat, where I'm contemplating, what is meditation actually? It's a really good question. And as I understand it, it should be, or at least for myself, it is effortless. It is not a doing. It is not a practice. It is a being. It is a blossoming. It is a happening. So this technique, this Vipassana technique, was too much of a doing, too much of an effort to and then also get somewhere, to get to liberation. But from my understanding, meditation is being here, right? But yeah, that's just a little bit about what that is. And although I couldn't personally experience the whole free flow of what was being taught, this free flow of energy from top to bottom and bottom to top, I could get a glimpse of it, and I could see also where the technique would be going. If you practice it properly, and if you do it, I think it's a wonderful technique. Still, it works. It has worked for myself. It has worked for many people, and it is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful technique, and a powerful technique as well, with potentially a great awakening experiences and purification experiences. But it's not my practice. It didn't resonate with me personally. And that's totally fine. That's one thing I discovered as well, which I'm going to talk about in the Insight video, is I don't have to like it. I don't have to practice it, even though they pushed it really hard. And that is the second part of what I kind of didn't like. It is the way Goenka taught the experience and taught and guided this whole retreat. At first I liked him. At first I really liked him. And later, over the days, I more or less decided that I don't like him. I don't like his style of teaching too much. Really, nothing against him. He's very cute. He's a very cute guy, and also it feels very pure, his intention and his way of teaching and everything. It does feel really pure. And I agree with a lot, although not all at all, but a lot of what he was teaching and presenting did resonate. I did agree with a lot of it. The teaching itself, the principles and everything themselves of the Buddhist tradition, of the Buddha, that resonated. The teaching in its purity was beautiful. But the way in which he was presenting it and almost pushing it was a little bit too much for me. Even though he said at the beginning, this Vipassana technique, this Vipassana retreat, it's not a sect, it's not a cult, it's not a religion. That's what every cult says in the beginning. Not to say that it's a cult, but after that he went on a lot of the times of like really pushing Vipassana is one of the only techniques that gets to the root of the problem and is going to liberate us fully, and all the other ones are kindergarten or not as good or whatever, and Buddhism is not a religion, but we have to follow the rules and do this and do that, and a lot of this like almost felt like dogmatic Buddhist teaching was presented, even though he was even saying that it's not this dogmatic Buddhist teaching, and some things he explained really beautifully on how Buddhism is not really in practice not a real religion, but more like an understanding of reality. But still pushing this is ultimate truth, this is ultimate truth, and that is ultimate truth. And then with some parts I didn't agree, and it was still like, this is ultimate truth. No, it's not. Like, this style of pushing it was a little bit too harsh for me. And his instructions also made me angry sometimes, because he was the only voice I was hearing during the retreat, right? Because it's the only teacher and the only instruction. And then they play these parts from him on how to do the meditation at the beginning of almost each meditation. And he was repeating how to do the technique, which I didn't like. And also the way he was repeating it was, I don't know, I didn't like it. Of like, feel every part of the body, feel the itchy, if it's a prickly, tickly sensation. It was kind of funny as well, but overall I really didn't resonate with it. And also the repetition of him then over and over and over and over again, after I kind of discovered that his teaching is not really resonating with me, made the whole 10 days a little bit more difficult. And his chantings as well, sometimes they were nice, but most of the times I would have preferred that he was not chanting. Even though he was chanting words of truth and words of the Buddha, I still did not resonate with his chantings, which is just a matter of personal preference, I guess. But yeah, that was all my kind of cons and negative sides of it. And I could see now this is kind of the conclusion for myself. I can see I want to do more retreats. Retreat structures are wonderful and beautiful and different. There's probably different styles and different teachers and different techniques. And to get a real taste of something, or go deeply with a technique or a practice, or just with something, the retreat structure is really beautiful. And there are a lot of benefits in that. And I want to explore more retreats now over the coming years, but not as taught by Goenka, because I did not resonate with him personally and with his style of teaching the Vipassana technique, and then following with the Vipassana technique as well. Maybe I'll come back after I did a few other retreats and then examine again if it's resonating. But still, it is worth an experience. Should you go? If you ask yourself the question, should I go to one of these retreats? I would say go for it. Definitely. It's worth an experience. If you like him or not, you can only know if you look up his stuff or experience it yourself. And also not to dismiss Vipassana. There's different retreats and different styles of practicing it as well. But definitely worth an experience, and a lot of people see great benefits. And even I, now, after the retreat, and after these 10 difficult days, I still, even though I did not like his teaching and the retreat, or like the Vipassana technique, I still see benefits now afterwards. I see benefits in my life. I can see how I'm way more aware, how the practice is working as well. We got into that in the Insight video, how stuff just came up and stuff was purified, and I was gaining deep insight into the nature of reality through this practice and through his teaching. So it did work, and now also I see more benefits in my life, how I'm more present, how I'm more disciplined, how I'm more loving, and just it was a very valuable experience. And also it nudged me into a different part now also to examine and inquire for myself what meditation really is, to gain a deeper understanding of what meditation really is for me and how I want to embody it and integrate it and live it out in my life. If it's with the Vipassana or not. It's probably not going to be with the Vipassana technique for myself, but it kind of inspired me to inquire myself what meditation is, and not just accept what any authority is saying what meditation is and what meditation technique is the most powerful and most effective and getting us to liberation the fastest and whatever it is. But being aware of that and also examining every single tradition and every single technique, if meditation is even something you can practice. But yeah, that's about it. That was my retreat experience. Very interesting experience. Very much a humbling experience. I learned a lot. I suffered a lot. I was in a lot of pain. But also it was on a different level. It was a lot of fun. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Check out the Insight video and the mushroom trip report. A live trip I did directly after the Vipassana retreat without going back into notifications or anything. That's a really good one. And also make sure to download the Spiritual Emergency Workbook if you're going through difficult spiritual times. It might help you. I poured my heart into that. And if you're interested in the coaching, let me know. All the love, all the blessings. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.